Hello everybody. A couple of weeks ago I had the first installment in my tiny little lockdown mini-series, JayEmm's Roundup. I know just about every car YouTuber is doing a similar thing, but still the response I received was absolutely amazing. After part one, my inbox was absolutely flooded with submissions from people wanting to get their vehicles featured on the channel, and it includes all sorts of cars from all over the world, including a few other YouTubers as well. So here we have part two of JayEmm's Roundup, featuring the weird, the wacky and the wonderful from all corners of the earth. Now this may take a little bit of time, so I advise that you all strap in, get yourselves comfortable, grab a mug of your favorite beverage, and let's begin JayEmm's Roundup part two.
Let's go!
Long-term viewers of the channel will of course remember my old buddy Laurie. He was there with me from the very beginning and was instrumental in getting this channel to where it is today. We helped him start up his own channel, Laurie's Mechanical Marvels, which is doing very well, and if you're interested in the more unusual mechanized creations in this world, it's definitely worth checking out. Now, off screen, we've of course maintained our friendship, and we try once a month to have a little catch up over a pizza. Unfortunately, we can't do that, so instead I've asked him to create this little piece telling us just what he's been up to.
Hey buddy, you've probably worked this one out, but I'm not going to be able to join you for pizza tonight. And that is a great shame. And I look forward to all of this blowing over so we can go out for a long deserved and well overdue pizza. In the meantime though, I'm worried about you. You're normally so busy all over the world shooting cars and living that YouTuber lifestyle. And suddenly you're stuck at home with nothing to do. So I've got a suggestion to help fight away the boredom. And that is, check out LMM on YouTube. We've got all kinds of wonderful stuff. You'll cast your mind back way back to when we were in America, in fact this time last year, and I disappeared for an entire day and came back very excited because I'd found a tractor. Well, that video has finally appeared on my channel, so I recommend you go check that out. And one of the big things I wanted to talk to you about was I went to the Tallaglyn Railway in Wales and managed to shoot a video driving one of their engines around, and I recommend you have a look at that as well because that was exceptionally good fun. In the meantime, stuff that's coming out for you to look forward to, well, I get a close look, I do a review of the tractor that I found, and I'm starting a brand new series, which is Laurie Goes a Little Loco, which is looking at model railway stuff because I can't get out to look at the big train stuff. But don't worry, I have plenty of big train stuff in reserve, so there's plenty of content coming out, so you're not going to get bored. Always thinking of you, buddy, and look forward to going out and getting a pizza or a Chinese or something, because I haven't had a pizza in ages. Shops don't have pizza no more.
Thanks for that, Laurie. And up next, here's another little clip from a fellow YouTuber, at this time Dom from the channel Car Thought.
Hi everyone, it's Dom here from Car Thought. I'm a UK-based YouTuber. I make videos about my Mazda MX-5 and then some other cars that I can get on the channel.
Oh, it sounds awesome. What?
My last video, I lowered the seat down so that some big tall blokes like me with long gangly legs can actually fit in it. Ow. I'm also using this time to do a lot of planning for the channel. I want the car to be as fast as possible on track. I know I'm not the best driver, but I'm getting there, I'm getting there. If you want to find out more, visit my channel, Car Thought. Stay safe and hope to see you all soon.
Suddenly really need to go to the toilet.
If you do have your own YouTube channel and you would like me to promote it, I'd ask you to send me a brief sort of 60 to 90 second clip of who you are and what it is that you do, and I'll try and share that on the channel where I can. I make no promises, but I will do my best. Up next, we have a little shot from Tim. Now, he's got a very interesting collection of vehicles, including Sinclair C5s, an old Discovery, but during lockdown, he's been using the time to get his 1981 Corvette up and running, which I'm pleased to say he has managed to. Once everything returns to normal-ish, I'm hoping to feature that car on the channel. And now the onslaught of photos. Are you ready? Let's go. Corbin in New Zealand has picked himself up a bargain Beamer, an E39 540i, back from those halcyon days when a 40i badge actually meant 8 cylinders. It's a 4.4 litre silky smooth V8. I had a close relation of that in my own 645, and it's got 280 very casual laid back horses. Car actually looks pretty clean in these pictures too, and other than the M5 badge on the back, I think it's a marvellous way to get around. The previous owner spent some money maintaining it too, and so I think that's a very, very wise purchase. Good shout there. Next up, we have Sven's Cayman GT4. He got in touch with me last year, and his Cayman at the time was not looking too hot. It had had a fracas with an old lady on the autobahn. It was declared 100% not his fault, and German insurance rules mean that not only was he entitled to the full amount of that car's value, he was then going to get some money on top to account for the fact that the car would then be worth a little bit less. I think that's a really good thing to do, because we have the same thing in the UK. When a car has been involved in a serious accident, it of course is never going to be worth the same no matter what effort goes into rebuilding it. He's done the only sensible thing in this case. He's spent the money restoring the car, which involved fixing all of the body panels, or replacing them rather, bar 2, and he's then sent the car to Manti Racing, where he has spent all of the extra cash that he got upgrading it to Manti spec. And when we can travel again, I should hopefully be reviewing and filming that car. Fingers crossed, maybe this year, possibly next. If you happen to live in Germany or the Netherlands or somewhere in Europe like that, and you have a car that you'd like to see me review, please do get in touch. In fact, wherever you are in the world, particularly America and places like that, there is a chance that I will be visiting. So if you've got a car you'd like me to review, but you're not sure I'll be near where you are, just email me anyway. This is Ben's 911, and I have to say that pictures like this one do remind me of how great some of these sort of 15-year-old mid-2000s cars can look. After all, how many 911s do you just ignore because they're silver, grey, black, white, they're nice cars. But for me, every time I see something like this, or indeed an Aston Martin V8 Vantage of the era in a nice bold colour, I'm reminded of how absolutely stunning they are. That aqua blue is a brilliant shade, absolutely love it. They did another shade very similar called Cobalt, fantastic too. Now, on the more sensible end of the spectrum, we have here Ryan's stunning little red Fiesta. It's powered by the 1-litre 3-cylinder Eco Beast engine, producing about 140 horsepower. Aside from the 5-speed gearbox and clutch, which isn't quite good enough for the power, Ryan really loves it, and rightly so. I haven't actually driven the little 1-litre, but I've driven a number of the STs, and I gotta say, they are fun as much as I don't like to admit it, and I've no idea how old Ryan actually is, but as cool cars for young people go, the little 1-litre, it's not bad. It really isn't. Over in the USA, Alec in Pennsylvania has traded in his Audi Tt Coupe for this BMW Z4 SI convertible. Looks absolutely gorgeous. Silver, not really my colour as mentioned, but I can think of few nicer cars for just cruising around the Pennsylvanian roads. It's a really beautiful part of the world. Absolutely loved it when I was there a couple of years ago. And that gorgeous BM straight 6 is such a nice thing to listen to. Not the fastest thing in the world, but it's really good. All Z4s are pretty flawed, but as it happens, I think the best one might actually be that one. And while we're in America, we should pay a visit to Richard from Lap of the World. He has possibly the highest mile, most used NSX anywhere, and kindly sent me this little video.
Hey James, greetings from East Tennessee. Hope this finds you in good health. Now, as for what I've been up to during the quarantine and shutdown, well, with no track day providers operating, and indeed very few circuits at all even open in the US right now, it's put a damper on my usual road trip and racetrack content. So I've had to find other things to talk about, and one of those has involved kind of coming to terms with the crippling financial burden of this hobby. I spent a bunch of time organizing records and adding up all of the receipts for my Acura NSX that I've owned for 11 and a half years, that has 283,000 miles on the clock, and that I track regularly. So as you can imagine, the results of all that addition were interesting. Interesting in a way that makes you want to drink heavily. So please, send beer and toilet paper.
East Tennessee is not actually too far from a good friend of mine in North Carolina, so the next time I visit, I'm going to try and hook up with Richard and see if we can make a little film. Now, not to be outdone, I got sent this picture from Dan in New Zealand. His MX-5 has over 374,000 kilometers on the clock, of which he's done at least 200,000. It's got a few little modifications, some Fly Miata chassis rails, teen lowering springs, and he says he's got no plans whatsoever to get rid of it. It is perfect. Damn right, looks fantastic, glad you're enjoying it, and I'm really happy to see a car like that doing the miles. I mean, that's what they're built for. Please keep enjoying it. I also got sent some pictures of this 2004 NB MX-5. Well, Miata, I was told, so it must be from America. I think it's from America. But there was no message with it. It was a mystery car. Meanwhile, also in New Zealand, and Tony has this unusual Mitsubishi. It's an Airtrek all-wheel drive turbo. Never heard of one before, I have to say, but it does look quite cool. He's been tidying it up, and in that process he's removed the front to repair a little bit of rust and clean up some headlights, and found some rather suspicious wiring. Now, Luke has been using quarantine to do a bit of restoration work on a car that is indeed very special to him. It's a 1992 Dodge Stealth RT. His father bought it brand new in 1992. It's the naturally aspirated V6 version of the car, and his father left it to him when he passed away in 2010. Since then it's been sitting, but it's now being restored by Luke. So I love hearing stories of cars like that. Those that watch my recent garage tour will know about my relationship with the motorbike that I have and stuff like that. So very, very glad to get that email. Thank you, Luke, for sending that over and sharing that with us. Over in Canada, Julian is fortunate enough to own one of the very first and few C8 Corvettes out in the wild. You see, there was only a few months of main production at the Bowling Green plant in Kentucky before they had to stop because of the quarantine. This is a very nicely specified car, and I actually do kind of like the colour despite my aforementioned dislike of greyish looking things. It seems to me like it's got a bit of a tint to it. Now, it's got the Z51 performance pack and it's a 2LT trim. All of the new C8s have a twin clutch box, which is apparently rather good, and it does look decent. I've yet to see a C8 in the flesh, so I will hold off on judgments, and I certainly haven't driven one. But oh, that's a mighty thing, and he told me he was very lucky to get that car because he ordered it way back when, got one of the very earliest build slots, and I really hope you're going to enjoy that, because I think people are going to be waiting a while before most people can get their hands on one of those. Also in Canada is Alistair's Ford Mustang GT350. The GT350, for those of you who don't know, is a more hardcore, track-orientated car with a 5.2 litre Voodoo engine. And that's a Cosworth engineered variant of the Ford Lump. It's radically different, revs a lot higher. It's a pretty serious thing. I've seen a load of these in the States, never driven one, never even sat in one. I wish they sold them here, because the performance per dollar is amazing, and they look like a real weapon of a car. So they would be a lot of fun to drive, and they do look mean. Meanwhile, back home, we've got a few people sharing their love of small Italian things. Foz has this beautiful pair, but it's the Vespa I think that I'd really take. Ben also has this Abarth 595 Pista, and he thinks that I was far too harsh on that in my review, and I would indeed love to get a chance to re-evaluate the Abarth, but funnily enough, nobody's been willing to offer me a go in theirs. In Germany, there is a Jaguar XKR which has travelled all over Europe following its owner Connor, who is kind enough to send us this little clip showing one of the reasons why he's been so keen to keep it. Also in Germany is Marius, another young chap with an eclectic car collection. His first vehicle was this, a beautiful red Audi Tt with the fantastic 3.2 litre VR6, a manual gearbox, and it looks to be in very good condition, and that isn't by accident because he spent some time making it good. I suspect he felt that the Audi was perhaps a little bit too easy to maintain, because he then decided to import a Suzuki Cappuccino from the UK. He got it and stripped it to find out that the chassis was resembling, in his words, a colander. So while that's being worked on, a friend of his persuaded him over a few litres of beer to buy a Passat W8. Meanwhile, in Sweden, a man by the name of Mats, or maybe we should call him Mad Mats, decided to swap his 964 for this, the lesser spotted and certainly lesser loved 914, complete with 4-cylinder engine. It's been thoroughly restored and upgraded, so rather than the original 120 horsepower, it's now producing about 160, courtesy of some throttle bodies, a few other upgrades. It's got a completely different suspension, a whole host of changes making it a lot more engaging and sporty and exciting to drive, and there's a few clips of it online where it does sound pretty cool. Now, check this clip out with some Swedish subtitles on. Maybe I need to go back to Sweden sometime and check out the car scene there, because I've also got this picture from Nils showing us his beautiful R172 SLK 55. I drove an earlier SLK not so long ago and have to say that, interior aside, I really loved it, and this one seemed to have certainly fixed that. They're a great looking thing, and you cannot deny the allure of that beautiful Mercedes 5.5 litre engine. Another MX-5 here, this one in Switzerland, in this photo courtesy of Carlo, who's recently sold or is trying to sell his vintage Caterham and bought the MX-5 as a way to enjoy the roads and weather while he finds the perfect replacement. Back to the UK, and Mitch is working on his first car, which also happens to be his first project car, a Mark I VW Caddy. Seems like it needs a fair bit of work, and fair play to you for taking that on. I hope you enjoy it when it's done. Daniel sent me these pictures of his Mini Cooper GP, which seems to be used in the correct fashion. A little while ago, I reviewed a Seat Leon Cupra 300 on the channel, which belonged to another chap called Daniel, and he runs a small channel called Ride With Me, and he sent this video update to share with you all.
Hello James and viewers of JayEmm on Cars. My name is Dan from youtube.com/ridewithme. I've got a few projects on the go during lockdown. Unfortunately, a lot of people are kind of stuck indoors. We've got to detail our cars and do a few little mods in the meantime before we can actually get out and enjoy them on the roads. I've been dailying an old Saab convertible for a little while now as a temporary car, and I'm doing a few videos on how to modernise a car on the cheap. And also I'm looking into the benefits of leasing versus purchasing cars. Once lockdown is lifted, I've got some certainly interesting vehicles coming up. So a friend of mine's just got rid of his Golf R and purchased a Renault Megane RS 250 Cup. I've also got a E63 lined up, which is one of my personal dream cars. So I'm really looking forward to that. Just can't wait to get back out on the road. My Cupra unfortunately is gone now. If you're a follower of this channel, you would have seen James review my car a little while back, the Seat Cupra 300 DSG. I've also got a long review of that and a walk around on my channel if you're interested in that. Aside from that, please stay safe, stay well, enjoy your little projects indoors, and look forward to getting back on the road. Cheers.
And Scott sent me pictures of cars owned by himself and his cousin. He has this very good looking BMW 635, which I assume is the diesel. It's being converted to hand controls for his use, and he's also shared with me a picture of his cousin's Renault Kangoo. He said that there's nothing a 20-year-old loves more than a nice small miniature French van with a wheelchair ramp on the back. He is positively fighting off the ladies. Enjoy them, lads, honestly. Some of the weirdest cars I've ever driven have turned out to be some of the best. Peugeot 106 diesel. Next up is Stephen's Triumph TR7. Some mice decided to feast on it, so he's currently rewiring the thing and trying to get it back in fine fettle. I must admit, it looks very well looked after, but I must also say, I don't think that I personally have anything good to say about the TR7. It's just not a car that I've ever loved. The shape is, in my mind, gopping, very similar to the Fiat X17, which is similarly just bizarre and weird and too 1970s. And let's face it, it's not exactly a car with a reputation for, you know, steadfast reliability. But the car is up in Glasgow, which I will be in later this year with any luck. And so I would invite you, Stephen, if you fancy it, to take me out in the car and just try and prove to me that the car does have some appeal, because I can't see it from where I'm sat. I'm very, very sorry. Edward's vehicles come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Here's his Renault Zoe, parked alongside his daily driver, a enormous crane. And here's his Unimog, something for the weekend, and Ed, I know exactly the sort of person that would love a go in that. Walter over in Delray Beach also has a classic Mercedes, and I gotta say, it looks pretty good. In fact, I think it looks a bit better than also his E55. That's a very nice pair of cars you got there, but for the ultimate thrill, he also has this Aprilia factory Tuono. If you don't know what that is, look it up. They're pretty mean bikes. They're very cool. Also at the beach is Jordan's Audi A1 S-Line. Now, if you're not sure what that is, it's a part of the coastline, typically sand-covered, where the land meets the ocean or the sea, and people use it as a place to congregate and this sort of sunbathe and do other such things, perhaps go for a swim. Aaron owns this unusual-looking Lexus with a very 1970s hue about it and asks what I think about Lexus's image in the UK. An excellent question, another one I'd invite people in the comments to talk about, because I just think Lexus have really, really mismanaged things here. They're fantastic cars, really well engineered, but it's the drivetrains that put me off essentially all of them. They love their hybrids, and that's not really the problem. I can kind of get over that, but it's the gearboxes that I can't. They got a thing for CVTs, and what's most mind-boggling is that they'll then go and do something like the LC500, which has this fire-breathing 5-litre naturally aspirated V8 that is just amazing. I absolutely love that car to pieces. If you haven't seen my review of it, please go and check it out because it's awesome. That car made a great sound and it's so fantastic. And in the States, Lexus does so well, one of the biggest players over there. But here, I think maybe they do, maybe not even as well as Jaguar. And that's a real shame because they're so well built. They're such proper cars that they really deserve to do better. But we do have this slightly unhealthy fascination with German vehicles here. And so I think Lexus don't really seem to see the point in having a whole range of cars, which I think they should, but I guess maybe it's a bit of a chicken and an egg scenario. So that's a real shame, because there's a lot to like about a Lexus. If you want something really unusual, how about this 1972 VW Trekker, an ex-German army radio car complete with a machine gun holder. Not good for more than about 50 miles an hour, and it does have more than a hint of Kubelwagen about it, but I do love it. If you prefer something more overtly British, how about Christian's Jaguar Sovereign, which he describes as, miraculously, all still working. Or really, I think I'd prefer to take out his stunning yellow TVR Chimera 4.5 with about 11,000 miles on the clock, and it does look mint, doesn't it? It looks absolutely marvellous. Please, someone out there with a Chimera, can I do a review on one? Because I haven't driven one in years and I want to see if they're quite how I remember them. They're sort of a more classic TVR compared with a lot of the ones that I've driven, so I'd really, really like to have a crack at that. And if back to basics motoring is your bag, how about this? Suvik in India shared this picture of his first car. It's a Mark I Maruti Suzuki Alto 800, the LXI trim. It's an 800cc 3-pot producing 49 horsepower and comes with a very rare option, a driver's airbag. Apparently these cars were so basic that even the passenger wing mirror was an optional extra, and this photo was taken on a day called, and I'm very sorry if I pronounced this wrong, Vishwakarma Puja, a day where all machines are celebrated. We should really do that, shouldn't we? I think we should do that. Now, Munzer sent me this photo of his BMW. On first appearances, it might seem to be something entirely unremarkable, but I think it's not at all. This is probably one of the best cars that you can buy, full stop. An E90 330i SE in blue. It's an SE, so it should ride nicely. It's got a creamy, smooth BMW 6-cylinder that'll go on forever, is reasonably economical, very torquey, very decent, has alright power but nothing silly. I think the blue makes it stand out a little bit. It should probably handle quite well too because it's not 10 feet tall, and I wish we could all just go back to buying cars like these as a normal vehicle. Wouldn't that be a great idea? An alternative to the BMW, for those who want to be slightly quirky, would be John's Subaru Legacy GTB in manual. I have at numerous points in time considered a Legacy GTB as a daily driver, but for various reasons not sort of quite gone there. Sometimes I thought of the turbo, sometimes I've thought of the 3-litre 6-cylinder flat six that they did, but yeah, just never managed. I never even sat in one. So if somebody would like me to review theirs, I think a couple of people have got in touch with me previously about reviewing theirs. So if that's you, then please do get in touch again. So I'd love to have a crack at that. Matt has a car that I know my buddy Volkswizard would love. It's a Lupo Gti, and it's one of VW's own press cars. Looks very splendid in red, and it's one of the first cars that was available of this type with a 6-speed gearbox that he says was a great improvement over the outgoing 5-speed. Also red, rare and rather cool is Ollie's dad's Alfa Romeo, a GT 1300 Junior in right-hand drive, currently an Alfa specialist undergoing a 1750 engine swap, so it's going to become something of a GTA tribute. And I look forward to hearing more about that, and when it's done, good luck guys. Also red, and now also surprisingly rare, is Ronnie's 96 Range Rover P38. Not too long ago, these were a very, very common sight, but falling prices and increasing bills meant that you really just don't see them anymore. It's the 2.5 diesel. It actually looks pretty tidy in the photos for a Range Rover of that vintage, and it's currently undergoing some mild restoration, although in this particular case, lockdown has actually put a stop on that one. And equally as brave is Tom, who bought this Fiat Panda 100 horsepower for 1,500 quid and then proceeded to do a 2,300 mile road trip around France. Now, he didn't have the most faith in it, but it got him home safe and sound, so it's being treated to a decent service in return for all of its efforts. There we have it. That's round 2, all done. Now, this one took a little while to put together. I don't know whether there will or won't be a roundup part 3. It looks like lockdown in the UK might continue for a little while. So, like I say, I do invite people to send me in clips, and I prefer clips rather than videos because I think they're a little bit more interesting. So send them over, tell me what you're doing, tell me what you've been up to, and maybe we'll see you for part 3. But in any case, I will see you for the next one. I apologise if I missed you out this time round. Thanks to all of those that sent in vehicles. See you soon. Bye-bye.